today I really want to talk about how do you stay inside of your financial empowerment when you're in conversations with your employer. Hey, everybody. I was reminded this week in talking with a couple of clients, of how do you stay in your empowerment when dealing with your employer, particularly when we have, all these news headlines that are sitting there out there going, oh my gosh, Dell, let go of 6,500 employees, and this company did 8,000 employees, and that did 10,000 employees. Well, we have to understand that everything is cyclical, and I have other videos that talk about how do you financially insulate yourself from things that are happening outside of yourself. But today I really want to talk about how do you stay inside of your financial empowerment when you're in conversations with your employer. Why is that important? Well, that's the money that gets deposited in your checking account. So that could be something that's super important to figure out. And I was reminded because one of my clients that I've had for 20 years brought this back up this week, and I want to make sure that I reinforce this with you guys because she was a beautiful student and it was quite amazing, and I'm very proud of her. And so I wanted to share this golden nugget with you because many times we go into our reviews and we're like kind of just happy to be at the table and just be like, and I will have to say that men do a way better job of staying in their financial empowerment with their employers than women typically do. So ladies, I want you to hear this because I watch men go in for their reviews all the time and they go, I'm this good and I deserve this pay. And guess what? They may not always get it, but they get a hell of a lot closer than if they didn't ask at all for what was true for them. And so I have coached people for years that you have to at least visualize and feel what it's like to actually get what it is that you desire from your employer before your review process ever happens. Why is that? Because you don't want to get caught blindsided with whatever comes out of their mouth, and then you're reacting and not responding to whatever's coming out of their mouths. And it's super important to do this in right alignment with your nervous system. So if we're in our reactivity, that means we're in our patterning of not producing the stuff that is in our highest and best interest. But if we're in observation and go, that's interesting that my employer said that because I don't necessarily feel that way. And well, here are the reasons why. And here is my support and my argument or discussion in negotiations, right? So first, I want you to make sure that you're going into this in a place of responding and not reacting, okay? And so when we're in this response side, I want us to sit there and go, what's really important to me, as opposed to I'm just really happy to have my job, right? So this is how we stay in our personal empowerment, where we have already visualized for ourselves, like, what do I want my business life or my career life, my job life to be for me? Like what I'm exchanging time for money. So what is important to me that if I'm giving up my time, which is actually the most precious commodity we have, what do I want in exchange for that? You may want more time. Let me give you an example. I had one client for years. He did not want to retire. He did not. But he would always talk to me about, Joel, I just want to play more golf in the summer. I'm like, you've worked for this company for like 50 years. Like, he was in his late 60s at this point. He worked at the same company all of his career. I said, why don't you ask him if you could just have Fridays off? Because you don't want that 3 to 5% raise. Because at that point, he didn't actually need the money. So it's like, you need time. You don't need more money. And so he did. He asked for that time off on Fridays, and they were like, sure, we have no problem giving you Fridays off in the summer, and we're going to forego giving you that 4% raise. And then next year, he was like, can I have Thursdays and Fridays off in the summer? So he was asking for benefits as opposed to more money. A lot of times we're wired that it's just the more money that's important to us. Well, I understand that traditionally that's how the system works with an employer, but it doesn't have to be the case. And the pandemic taught a lot of us that we can think a little bit more outside out of the box. And today employers are way more willing to do this for you and working outside the box, because if you're a quality worker, they're going to want to keep you. And I had a client who wanted to retire and they said, we don't really want to lose you. She goes, well, if you pay me to do my job in North Carolina, because I could do it all remotely, I'll stay working. And that's what she did. So for 3 years after she moved to where she wanted to move, they kept her employed. So it was a win for the employer and it was a win for her. Now, you don't have to be at retirement age to negotiate these things. What I find is you actually just value yourself a hell of a lot more when you're older in your career, because you're like, yeah, all that stuff I used to get nutted up about in my head actually doesn't really matter anymore. And you have more confidence and more self-love for yourself when you are older. So those of you who are in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s, before you actually get to retirement age, I want you to be happy way before you get to the end of your career. This is what's important about this video in terms of being in financial empowerment. Because financial empowerment with your employer, what that means is, and this is one of the things that one of my clients did this week. She went in there and she said, you know what? I really like this job. I like the flexibility they've given me. I went from being a contractor, now I'm working, a full-time job. I'm now a W-2 employee. And they wanted to hook her into the system. It's kind of like you don't even realize you're being like sucked into the matrix of the corporate employer. You don't even realize that that's happening to you because it's so subtle and it happens so long over time. All of a sudden you wake up and you're going, oh my God, I'm working even on my weekends, answering emails and doing all this because they're trying to maximize profits at the corporate level and I'm losing the quality of my life. That is not personal financial empowerment when it comes to your employer. So she realized in this process that she really enjoyed when she was a contractor going, you contracted me for 16 hours a week, I'm working 16 hours a week, because she loved herself enough to actually hold those kind of boundaries. Now, when it came to review time and they pulled her in, she said she chose for herself to create a menu. So I would encourage every single one of you to do this. I have coached my clients for years to create a menu in your mind as the potential outcomes that you, in your heart, in being the most self-loving person possible, but yet also doing the job that the employer wants you to do, you have these options that any of them will work. Here's your most ideal. Here's your minimum that you'll put up with. And then you find that common ground. What's so interesting? When you go in with a menu of options, you have positioned yourself to be lucky to have the desired outcome that you actually really, truly want. And you're not saying yes or no to just one option. You've got A, B, and C, and maybe even a D. Or maybe you just have A and B. The key is that you're being flexible, you're being adaptable, you're trying to collaborate with somebody, which is all really good energy of following your passion, your heart, and then adding your smarts. And then you look at this menu and don't assume which choice that your employer is going to make, because I guarantee you it's not going to be the one that you expect. But as long as it's on your list of options that work for you to create the life that you want, it's a win. So now this next race you go into for an approach on your reviews, I'm going to challenge you to go into it in a whole different way than you have never gone before. All right, you guys, hope this little tidbit helped, because it was a great little nugget that was shared with me this week. And I wanted to reinforce that, for years I've been coaching my clients like this, and it's really important to have that menu of options for you that's in alignment with your heart and your soul. And I guarantee you it's going to give you more time, more money, and a more happiness in your life. Take care. See you soon. Ciao.